First, it was chilly when I was trying to make this. It was a few weeks ago, back before it turned into summer suddenly. And I was impatient, so I wanted to cure this very quickly, and I put a heat lamp over it, which is my first mistake. I put it directly over it, and as in like inches, mere inches from this thing. So I'm going to show you what happened here. And there's a couple of things going on here. I mean, if I ever do the roast of Aquaman, I'm set. But so one thing that happened was that this is like the bottom that would be. So you can see it's like it's off kilter. It should be straight up and down. So one thing that happened was I had some helper hands, pinchers, holding the PLA microphone that I'd printed out and painted, and I thought, oh man, this looks great. And it was up and down because if you try to put PLA, for any of those who know, if you try to put PLA in epoxy, it's going to pop right out. It's super buoyant in there. So that melted with the heat lamp. And where it was pinched, it melted and then just completely angled up like this. So it's at like a 45-degree angle in the orb. And then it's kind of hard to see on here, but you can see there's a lot more bubbles at the top. That's like the top of the where the mold was open, and I poured the stuff in. And the problem is down here on the bottom, the bubbles are actually, there's a lot fewer bubbles. What I really needed was something to heat up the bottom all around it really at the same time and evenly. So what it did was it heated up so quickly that some of the bubbles that were escaping and would normally escape if I just let it sit, but I got impatient, and so it basically froze these bubbles as they were trying to escape. One more real quick thing is just that I'm going to be putting this back in our, I guess that's a library back there with other stuff for anybody who wants to take a look. It's a book on model making. And it's pretty interesting because it goes over a lot of machining tools, but these are like tiny machines, and it's for building like tiny things, tiny engines for steam locomotives that you actually make a steam engine, tiny boats, both woodworking and metal stuff, and it's pretty detailed. And I feel like this is a lot of information that once upon a time was maybe more prevalent. It's also stuff that's kind of hard to find on just like YouTube or Instructables. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, this will be back in the library. Any questions on my failed orb? I've done the heat lamp before, and it was pretty good. I put this too close, basically, so I should have put it, I was like really impatient, and I basically halved the amount of distance between the lamp and the actual thing. And if it hadn't had the PLA in it also, at least it would have been like an orb, but this, it just like completely scrunched the microphone where it was pinched at. I mean, I could have just yanked it out of there. So yeah. Anything else? All right, thanks, y'all.
Thank you for sharing that, Victor. For me, at least, impatience leads to something like 70% of my failures, and so I definitely feel that one. It did seem successful as an orb. I mean, it was all right. Next up, we have a deformed mushroom hat from Aaron. Not sure if that's a failure or not.
Hi there, I'm Kristen. This is my youngest one, Erin. Thanks. Erin would like to show off something that she made, started a few weeks ago when we were kind of stuck at home during the bad weather. And it is a mushroom hat that we tried recreating from a YouTube video, and we made some changes to it. Some we regret and some we would do different. Erin, what about you? What would you do differently?
I would probably get rid of top area where we cut through the fabric altogether.
So have like a hidden seam?
Yeah.
Okay. And one thing that I actually insisted on that turned out to be a total mistake was the video that we saw didn't have a super strong frame, so it would have collapsed after a couple wears. So I was like, let's put some stuffing in there, add some like volume to it. That gets really heavy. Do you want to show? Erin's gonna be working on building those neck muscles. It's an exercise equipment at this point. But we loved the parts that I think we loved the most was the tulle underneath, how flowy and cute it was, the nice texture difference. We also learned that the shape of the head hole you should size up, because when you glue the tulle in there, it is going to make it very tight. Is there anything else that you would have done differently?
Probably use different foam, considering when we hot glued it, there were some mistakes, and when we redid it, there's green everywhere.
Yeah. So use a different color foam underneath.
No, like
Or
different
something.
type.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. I think that would be a good change. All right, any questions? No? Okay, well then round of applause for this young engineer.
Okay, I'm declaring that not a failure. I think a mushroom hard hat is both practical and attractive. I like it very much. Next up, we've got Tracy with a bread box theater.
Hi, everyone. So this is a display that I made a couple of years ago because I wanted to have something to show off some of our 3D prints. And so it's exactly what I said it was. It's an old bread box that I got at a thrift store that had a lot of sharp edges, so I sanded that down real good. And it's been a couple years, so I can't quite remember what else I did to it. But I do. And then my very clever husband, I put this old flat screen monitor parts in the back here because I wanted to slide some little blinky lights in the back. And so it worked out really well. And this is what we put in it. So there it is, and it slides into one of my bookshelves, and just turn it on, and it's just a fun thing. Any questions? Yeah.
Yeah, so when you walked away, did you hear music playing?
That's a great idea. Why don't we have music on this? You're so right. Anyone else? Joe?
That's Terry Francis, Dad, playing music, right?
What? I don't know that one.
Okay, I'll find the book.
Okay. I mean, I know the Hogfather, but that's
Great book.
yeah? Okay. Good, do that. Brian? No, we just kind of let them, kind of like, well, I don't know if you guys are familiar with some like ghost where they're anonymous, so. Any other questions? Yes, I did. Didn't I say that? There are, that's exactly right, 3D prints. Anyone else? Yes, it is. It's a Breadbox band. Good one. Thanks, guys.
That is delightful. In a totally non-threatening and non-creepy way, I sometimes like to imagine what your home lives may be like. And the Baker household is like so whimsical in my mind. It's amazing. Next up, we've got Wes, who has brought colored inlays to show us.
I've heard a lot of oohs and ahs, and I'm hoping that this is probably aligned with that. I've been quite tenacious with colored inlays as of late, trying to figure out different methods for getting them done. Epoxy obviously is the main method that most people choose. I went a 3D printer or 3D printing pen one time and I showed it off. I really wasn't happy with that, to be honest. I found another method, which is this method here on YouTube, and it's much faster, it's much cheaper, and it's more toxic than epoxy. But if you use it right, then it actually is quite good. So this method actually uses baking soda. Baking soda and mica powder that you would normally use for epoxy. You mix it up, and then you use CA glue. You're shaking your head because, yeah, it is very toxic. Yeah. So, and I was wearing a gas mask and stuff like that. Now, this is only like a millimeter thick in the inlay, so that's why when I sanded it down, there were a lot of spots on it. But I mean, for the most part, it turned out pretty good. And I could probably, I'll just pass it around for everyone to share. But like I said, the cure time on this is measured in seconds, versus epoxy is measured in hours. And you got to have the right temperature where you're at, so it's very temperature controlled. That's very difficult. You obviously get good results, but with this here, it's much, much cheaper, much faster, and you got to wear protective equipment. So, any questions? Yes.
Just out of curiosity, do you know of a CA glue that cures more over time instead of so quickly? Is there such a thing?
Probably a thicker one. I used a thin one because I wanted it to cure really quick. I have medium CA glue I can try, but I think the very nature of CA glue is to quickly dry instead of longer. Yeah, I think that's the purpose of it. Yes. Yeah, you're right. Probably with the medium. And I use the spray stuff, and it works pretty well as long as I don't get it on my fingers and in the back.
I'm sure we'll find out when we pass it around, but does it have a texture to it?
Well, you can kind of see some spots in there. That could be because the inlay is so thin and the sanding was really getting through it. Like over here and over here, like right up here, this was all filled in. But because of I had to keep the sander on it for so long, it just went right through it. And so what I did was I actually applied the powder and just scraped it across with like a popsicle stick, and then applied it in drops and let it cure. Some of it, if I touched it, it would actually indent, which is what I think some of the spots are in here, is me actually touching it accidentally. And then I applied another layer, and so then that would get super hard and tough, and then that would take a long time to kind of sand off. So I think a deeper layer initially for the inlay, and then adding additional layers on top of it is probably the way to go with it.
So you put the powder down first?
Yeah.
Then you didn't mix the glue with the powder?
No, because that'll cure like that. I mean, it'll cure within, if you leave your stick in there, it'll keep your stick in there. I mean, that's how fast it is. Yes?
Is the lettering also inlaid?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's super smooth. And it's all sandable, like I said. This is just pure tung oil over the top of it. So it takes finish as well too.
Some people may not know that CA glue is developed for battlefield surgery in Vietnam. So oxygen exercise blow the wound right down.
Sure.
Get somebody up.
I didn't know that, but I've heard of super glue being used for wounds and stuff before. Interesting. Okay, thank you.
That's a really appealing graphic effect you achieved, but I especially want to salute your efforts towards speed and toxicity. I think that's excellent. It's really the mark of a good share when somebody comes up here and says, you shouldn't do this, I shouldn't have done this, it's a wonder I survived. So people on the internet don't do that, unless it turns out great, then come show us. Bringing up the rear tonight, we have other Tracy, who has brought a frame which is neither gold nor gaudy.
I've always wanted to make a frame on the laser cutter, and finally, and you know, you just don't do it. And I finally just knocked one out one day and designed it and cut it out, and then it sat in my office for 2 months. And today I sanded and finished it, so here I am. It has a few layers, so this is not going to show up well, but it has 2 3mm layers, a very, very thin layer, like maybe 1mm wood, and then a front layer, so that you can slip a picture in. You can like slip a picture in behind the layer then. But I wanted to make sure you could hang it on the wall and stand it up. So I have this piece that magnets onto the back that you stick in a little hole, and then you can stand it up. It's like this. And then there's also a hole that is covered when you have a picture in there that you can hang it on the wall. So some problems with it. This is version 1. The little thing that holds it up is obnoxiously large. Like, it's really dumb. I don't know why I made it so big. I guess I felt like it needed stability, but it's much too big. And it doesn't lean very well or stick in the holes very well. But if you jam it in there, it will stay. But the other problem is that I'm like, I'm gonna make it so you can flat pack it and you can store it right in the frame. So I magneted it into the frame. You cannot get this out without, I mean, I have to use a pocket, and I can't get it out with, this now, maybe I've stuck it with it too many times, but, so the back looks like this. Yeah, it sort of does. I definitely would make it a lot smaller and maybe make it so it's tilted more. But that's version 1 of the frame, and now since it's like, good enough, I'll probably never do a version 2, but it worked. So any questions? Oh gosh. Yes.
What does it say? How does it words on it?
Laser. It says when you love someone, it doesn't matter, you just love them. Anyone else?
You did that with the laser?
Yeah.
Would you like my picture to go in the frame?
No, I have a picture at home to put in it. Of Russell, right. Anyone else? All right, thank you.
I really enjoy that you made a picture frame that will erase passing credit cards. That's really clever. Mind the Tracy. Okay, I've got a few announcements to share with you this evening, friends. We do have a couple of classes coming up. For example, tomorrow, Wednesday the 13th, Wood Turning Basics, super popular, totally sold out. Hope you already got your tickets. Also, Thursday the 7th, we have an intro to the Silhouette Vinyl Cutter, also sold out. Next Tuesday, which is the 12th, After show and share, we'll be doing a new member onboarding session. So if you're on the path to membership and you have not yet been to new member onboarding, next Tuesday evening will be an opportunity to do that. Also a chance to just hang out with some new folks if you're already a member. It's mostly a good time. Remember that you can find out about our upcoming events for which you may or may not have tickets on our events channel, on our Mattermost chat server, and also on the events calendar on our website, knoxmakers.org/events. I wanted to remind you all that the Spring Maker Market is just around the corner. It's happening on May the 5th. And there's two reasons why you should be super aware of that. First of all, because you might like to have your very own booth at our Maker Market. I always feel super proud when I see our folks out there showing off the amazing cool stuff that they make and showing that to the public and selling it. So we anticipate opening up sign-ups for the member market to our members only next week to give you all the first chance to snap up the booths. So please be on the lookout. We will be announcing that on all channels the moment they become available, and hope you get queued up. Also, too, remember that we do need volunteer help from the community to make this whole thing happen. I always enjoy doing that part. If you haven't done it before, it's a cool time. It's enjoyable to do that with your friends. Consider volunteering. Aliki is, of course, the queen of our market. She does all the super awesome organizing for us. And so if you're thinking about volunteering, Aliki would be the best person to talk to. But anyone, really, will make that happen. If you are new, if this is your first time at Knox Makers, please be sure you get a tour of the workshop. Be sure you get all your questions answered. We're happy to have you here. Let's go out in the shop and make some weird stuff together.